Mm, 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 mm.
Sports fan, what's good with it? You see who I got on my side that's always giving me that hashtag real talk only. I appreciate you all joining the Sports Connect. I got my brother Maceo Heard from the Crush Sports Network, and we do a lot of collabing, and the energy and the synergy is all good. And I got my brother here again, man. So tell us what's going on, Maceo.
Man, what's going on, dude? Hey, always good to catch up with you, man. Always good to talk sports. Real talk only. No hot takes, baby. We just get to it. We get into it.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. We
We
get
don't
to it
do
for
that.
sure.
We don't do it.
Facts, facts. So, man, as why we got it. Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know. Why we got an echo in here, man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, at least on my headphones. I might have to kill my headphones,
Because I
man.
might have kill mine. Let me see something. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. You still echoing?
Let me see here, cause yeah, cause that echo is delayed.
Oh. I don't have no headphones now.
Hold on, hold on. Let me see here. That's I'm gonna test it now to see if we got one because I just said something here. Let me see what's going on. See if we get it. I'm ready to get to this talk, man.
Ooh, let's go.
So we must be good. It sounds like we're good here, man.
Okay.
So let's jump into it, man. And again, I appreciate the sports fan for joining us as we're getting into this football talk, man. Let's get into it. So first, let's get into. Give me your assessment on the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, man. And the reason why I'm asking about this is because at North Dakota State, we saw a guy who is projected to be a top 10 quarterback, Trey Lance, in the NFL draft this year, playing his one game against America's team, Central Arkansas, right?
The good guys. They the good guys.
Right. No question. They went out there and showed us however we could get this done in COVID season, man. So I'm asking that because one of the things that people are questioning about Trey Lance is what has he really done? Are those statistics really impressive? And if you remember, those were the same questions about one Josh Allen, man.
Right.
So I'll ask you this. Are you surprised in his evolution? What do you think about Buffalo? Is it for real? Is that a function of playing with more confidence because there's no Tom Brady in New England? Although there is a monster playing quarterback in New England. Give me your assessment on Buffalo and Josh Allen in particular.
So first and foremost, I do have to apologize to Josh Allen because when I looked at his skill set last season, one of the things that I kept saying was here's a big athletic guy who can't seem to adjust to the NFL.
Yep.
Well, what does this guy do in the offseason? He gets back in the lab with Jordan Palmer, Jordan Palmer does an excellent job of getting these guys' minds right for the NFL. One of the things we talked about with Josh Allen was, dude, you have to fix your mechanics to become a better quarterback in the NFL. This is just the part of what we see with these young NFL quarterbacks. From year one to year two, can you make that jump? Well, what this guy has done, fixing his mechanics, we already knew he had the big arm. We knew he had the athleticism. Now you have Coach Dabo, who was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. He's bringing a lot of the college elements into the NFL. Okay, add a Stephon Diggs at wide receiver, mixing up the play caller. And what we're seeing is a guy who, listen, through the first quarter of the season, it's just the first quarter of the season, but we see a guy, we've seen the improvement, and we can't be shocked at the progress that the Buffalo Bills have made. And hey, again, I had to apologize to the guy. Right now, he's performing and I've been hearing everybody talk about MVP talk. Too early for that.
Facts.
But from year 1 to year 2, his development has been outstanding, and a lot goes to that young man. Because a lot of times these guys, they either get frustrated and you see them, they don't quite excel.
Yeah.
The challenge, and because of his play, the Buffalo Bills are sitting pretty through one quarter of the season.
No question. So do you believe that it's legitimate? Do you believe that they'll be able to sustain that performance? And talk about Stephon Diggs as well, man. How impressive he has been, and what he's doing on the at that receiver position. And does Minnesota miss him?
Oh, listen, he talked his way out of Minnesota, so clearly he didn't want to be there. Whatever the energy was between him and our cousin Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen, hey, he didn't want to be there with Zimmer. He talked his way out of town. He goes to Buffalo, gets a fresh lease on life. He's become this extreme weapon in this Buffalo Bills attack. And with him running these deep over routes, he's a guy, once you put the ball in his hands, he makes things happen. And again, we talk about with Josh Allen being able to throw this football 50, 60, 70 yards downfield is putting the fear of everybody into these different defenses and add a decent run game. But a lot of that is a byproduct of Stephon Diggs being in this offense, knowing he's capable of hitting a home run. He's capable of taking that short pass and going hitting a home run. Man, this guy has been very good for the Buffalo Bills. And again, through one quarter of the season, dividends are being paid in Buffalo. Not so much in Minnesota, even though a young Justin Jefferson.
I was going to ask you about him.
They finally start finding ways to get him the ball the way they did at LSU. But right now, it looks like Stephon Diggs got the good end of it. Again, quarter into the season, but he got the best end of the deal right now.
Right. No question. And when people always question and they ask, I think to your point, when they're looking at the currency that people give up for playmakers, I also think in addition to, yes, there's a hefty price that's paid for a playmaker, you also have to look at the stage in which your team is in, right? Like, so if you give up that healthy price and you're a few players away from winning, right, maybe it looks like you gave up too much. But in the case of Buffalo, you got your defense, you got your quarterback, offensive line seems to be playing well. You need that real playmaker there. So now it's helping to at least look like it's pushing you over the top. And now people are saying, well, maybe that wasn't too healthy of a price that you gave up to make that pick. Hold on one second, brother. Let me do something about this glare. Okay. So we are back, sports fam. I appreciate you joining. You are with the Sports Connect. I got my brother Maceo Heard here. We do a lot of things when we talk about basketball. This is a great brother, shares his platform with me. I am honored to share my platform with him and dig into his great football mind. So some more questions about, we saw something last night. The GOAT, and we're not talking about your guy, Reggie Ball, right? We're not talking about that GOAT. We're talking about one Tom Brady. There was a lot going on in terms of what Tom Brady thought going down the stretch, playing this game against a guy that's turning into his arch nemesis in Nick Foles, right? Which is, we thought that was Eli and the Giants, right? But maybe there's somebody else, another kryptonite, right? Or maybe, right. Or maybe Eli hopped in Nick Foles' body and was like, you know what? I'm going to hoop a little bit more today. So what do you make of Tom Brady? And apparently, these are opportunities and these are situations where he has come through so much and he always seemed like he was under control and never had that mental lapse, right? And tell me what you saw yesterday. And one of the more telling things for me was how when he was asked about it, he really didn't say anything about it. He just said it was just lack of execution. So give me your thoughts on that. What are you seeing in Tom Brady? And then I also have another question about the Bucs as well that I want to ask you about.
So we've watched Tom Brady operate in the game scenarios for 20 years.
Right.
We've seen this guy. It seems like every time his team needs to drive, he comes through.
Right.
His decision making, his accuracy, all of these things. So to see him take a shot on where he thought it was third down, but it was actually fourth down. Judging on history, we know that he throws that quick out, he hits that back in the flat, he gets the first down, he continues these drives. I think this offense has Tom Brady so frustrated because it's not his system.
That's good insight. That's what I want.
He's been a product of the same system. Guys don't get to play in the same system 19 years. They just don't.
Right. That's right.
Bruce Arians plays an aggressive, down the field, attack the defense style. That's his style.
Yep.
It's a disconnect because we know the things. Like I say, we've watched Brady operate this, and yeah, he make a lot of. I've been saying 2 years now, the Tom Brady that we've got accustomed to, that guy is gone. But we do know he's still sharp enough to understand game situations. And last night, I think in his frustration, he got hit a lot last night. He missed a lot of throws that his mind tells him, hey, I always make that throw.
Right.
So I think he did get caught up in. We saw too many instances last night where yelling at his line, yelling at him. We know that we saw that Tom Brady. So that lapse in judgment, I think a lot of that came from just the flow of the game. And again, these guys hit a chatter. You and I talk about this all the time. He knows that he watched a guy over there on the other sideline who just got hot.
Yeah, right.
Nick
right.
Foles just, he was awful. about 2 quarters and a third. He was awful. But all of a sudden, he remembered, you know what? I know how to beat that dude.
Right.
And he led his teams to win. And I think that got the best of Tom Brady. Now, what I am upset about as a member of the media, nobody asked the question the right way, and then nobody followed up. I'm like, why do you guys have credentials? Right. That's your whole job. Like, the story. Don't be so enamored with that's Brady. Let me not ask that question. Or I want to stay on Bruce Arians' good side. No, you ask that question. You don't let them slide. As members of the media, that is what we're supposed to do. I was more disgusted by that. Like, dude, we're not even in the same room with these guys. Like, it's not like it's a Zoom call.
Right.
So what if Bruce Arians get mad at you? It's different being in the room with the coach and him staring you down and like, why you asking me that?
Right.
Y'all on the screen, like, what, he gonna jump through the screen and come get you? Come on, media.
Right.
Come on, media. Right. But yeah, we're I try to tell my Tampa Bay friends this. You're not getting the GOAT Tom Brady. You're not getting that guy. You're getting a guy whose play has declined the last 3 years. Like, it just has. And seeing that lapse last night is just one more indication that, hey, this is not the Brady that has that Jordan killer instinct. This is not that guy. And Father Time undefeated, baby.
Undefeated. No question. So my next question is about them as well. One of the things when you watch them as a team, one of the things that's really interesting to me, and I'm interested in this for a couple of reasons. One, because of what it means to their team, and then two, I'm interested in this because being a California guy, I'm a USC football fan, always have been a USC football fan for a long time. So to watch Ronald Jones, there we go, fight on, right? And this is going back to Charles White, right? Charles White, watching him win that Heisman. So I say that because watching one Ronald Jones, right, over the last couple of weeks. Now, this is after signing Leonard Fournette, and then in week 2 against Carolina, Leonard Fournette was I think was 17 for 103, right? What do you think that's done for Ronald Jones? And how important do you think Ronald Jones will be? Because we always talk about the weapons. We talk about Chris Godwin, of course, rightfully so when healthy. We talk about Mike Evans. We talk about all the weapons that Tampa has. What about that running game, and what does that mean for Tom Brady, especially given the fact that you just said this isn't the GOAT that we are accustomed to seeing maybe 10 years ago?
They need to lean on it more. You know my favorite saying: competitors compete.
Facts.
Hey, I'm sitting around here thinking, hey, you know, I'm the dude. You know, hey, thing sweet. Oh, wait a minute, who? They signed who? So I'm not enough. Okay, well, I'm going to take advantage of my touches. And listen, these situations, either you fold or you say, you know what, every opportunity I get, I'm going to show you, man, you don't need to sign that guy over there, man. You know, my teammate, I like him. You ain't have to bring that dude in here, man. And Bruce Arians even said this last night. We're not running Ronald Jones enough, man. This guy, inside, outside, he's so explosive.
Right.
Gets through that line, like, man. Ooh. And this goes to, you know, hey, listen, Rodney Peete was my guy. I love Rodney Peete.
There we go. And you know what? And it's important that you say that, because I want to say this. That's the last time at USC, other than we had Jason Thomas before Carson Palmer, that's the last time we saw a brother at quarterback at USC. That's very important to mention, given the fact that the team is on the soil in LA. There are lots of prospects there, right? We're seeing one going to Clemson, right? So, go ahead, brother. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and listen, Clay Helton could really do himself a favor by getting him one of these athletic guys. It's plenty of them in Cali. I mean, you USC, but that's another conversation.
That's another conversation.
They probably should have hired Urban Meyer, but we're not gonna get into that. Man. Right. But Bruce Arians talked about, you know, the importance of a Ronald Jones. Listen, we know what Leonard Fournette is. We know when healthy, if healthy. You know, this guy was one of the greatest prospects to come out of high school. We saw what he did at LSU, but he hadn't quite got it done in NFL. That's why Jacksonville kind of moved on. Fifth year option. Get out of here. But, you know, I think as they move forward, I think they're going to – Tampa Bay will lean on that running game a lot more. And I think Ronald Jones is going to be the beneficiary of that because, again, Bruce Arians sees now, you know what? I do have some in that guy. And it's not a bad second option to have a Leonard Fournette. I mean,
not at all.
I mean, not at all.
Right. No question. So since we're talking about quarterbacks, and I want to say this really quick, I'm rocking my Fritz Pollard shirt. And this shirt comes from Proud History. So if anybody wants to check it out, check out @ProudHistory on IG. And again, lots of things that are relevant to us from a sports perspective, relevant to our culture as well. Continue to move the culture forward. Marathon continues. So I got to ask you this. Since we are talking about quarterbacks in their play, and we see Nick Foles and the Bears are now, as much as there's been so much talk about what's going on at their quarterback position, they've only lost one game. It's another team that's like that as well, the Cleveland Browns, right? So I got to ask you this, especially one of the things that's really interesting to me, and I've been dying to ask you about this. So when we see a guy that's the #1 pick in the draft at the quarterback position, we are looking and expecting a guy that has the ability and the talent to elevate the franchise, right? Cleveland is now 3-1, right? And so, Seb, what's up, brother? So Cleveland's now 3-1. They're riding high. They're playing well. They're scoring points. But that scoring of the points has been predicated on that running game. Give me your assessment on Baker Mayfield as the #1 pick in the draft. And are we giving him too much of a pass with his performance, given the fact that as this team is performing well, the defense is performing well, they're pressuring the quarterback, of course, right? With Myles Garrett, he's doing that, living up to that extension. But all we hear about when they're successful is the running game and him playing off the play action. Is that something that you expected to hear from a number one pick at that quarterback position? Or I graded him a little bit too harsh when I'm asking for, hey, if you're the number one pick, I need you to win a game. So give me your assessment on that.
So let's start with this. We can thank Jamarcus Russell and Sam Bradford for us not having to put so many expectations on number one overall draft pick quarterbacks. Now, you don't get these guys the money that we used to get these guys. Again, thank Bradford and good old I'm on that lean Jamarcus Russell for that.
Man, that's the shot at me as a Raider fan.
My dude, but we'll get to that later.
Right.
Kevin Stefanski, to his credit, looked at this team. He said, okay, my two best players are my running backs. We've seen where if you try to put the offense in Baker's hand, a lot of bad stuff is going to happen. Why not turn around and hand this ball off to these two monsters? Like, they got two running back ones.
Yes.
The offensive line, I mean, listen, these guys are averaging 7-8 yards a carry. That's second and two.
Right.
Okay, add into, I mean, I do have Odell Beckham on one side. I do have Jarvis Landry on the other side. I got two nice tight ends, especially Hooper. I mean, we paid him money. Why not limit the throws that Baker Mayfield can make, which can throw us out of a game? And let's lean on the running game and allow Baker to get that eighth man in the box. Now I got man-to-man coverage. I mean, in man-to-man, I'm probably going to take Odell 7 out of 10 times. I mean, when his mind is right. And listen, again, we got to thank Stefanski and the offensive staff. Let's find creative ways to get Odell involved. We can't throw it to him 20 times because Baker's going to throw 10 interceptions. Reverses, again, that mean running game. So I think when we reevaluate Baker, we have to give the coaching staff credit for saying he's not our best option. Mm-hmm. He can drive us, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He can't lead us to the promised land. What leads the Cleveland Browns and put the Cleveland Browns in the best position to be in games every week, that mean running game, which kills the clock, keeps your offense over on the sideline chilling. Oh, and by the way, I may or may not get a spectacular play from Odell Beckham. Right. So Baker, let's take Baker out the equation, man. You know, now does this hurt Baker maybe when it's fifth-year option time? Yeah, probably, because teams like, you know, Baker, hey, you're not the engine. You know, you're just a piece.
Yeah.
We go back in the draft, instead of giving you $25 million in that fifth year, it's a lot of young prospects who come in here and hand the ball off just as well. Because when you go back and look at that draft, you're probably going to say, upon further review, Baker is not the best quarterback that was in that draft class.
Right.
MVP last year. Probably.
Right.
So, you know, I wasn't sold on Baker coming out of college. I'm just gonna be honest with you.
That was gonna be my next question.
I didn't see what his skill set translated to. Oh, he just gonna come in the NFL and he gonna just throw it all around the yard. Because again, I mean, he was at Oklahoma where Oklahoma had. I mean, listen, CeeDee Lamb, when he got a CeeDee Lamb was like the third option.
Right. Right. No question.
I mean, people forget that, like, dude, CeeDee Lamb was a freshman. He wasn't even wearing 2. He was wearing like 4.9 or something. Like, he had
right.
So Hey, Baker, this is hurting your negotiating. But I mean, hey, you lucky you have a job. So now I want sold on Baker, but Stefanski and his staff, listen, take the air out of the ball. Let's limit Baker to about 20, 24 throws. Recipe for success, man. Coaching. I love it. Coaching.
No question. So this is going to be a sore subject because it leads me to my next question. Right?
Let's go. I'm ready. I knew I was going to get this at some point. Let's go.
So to your point, and the segue is perfect because what you're talking about at the negotiating table is exactly what's going on with the Dallas Cowboys and one Dak Prescott, right? That is their question. That's exactly what you're talking about. So when you're looking at the performance that we're seeing week in and week out from one Dak Prescott, you look at the numbers. These are historical numbers that he is putting up, right? Historical. So when you look at these numbers, so this is bigger than the Scott Mitchell thing. This is bigger than Matt LaFleur. These are historical numbers, right? That this guy's putting up from a guy that's won division championships, etc. So give me your assessment on what the Cowboys should be doing. And I'll ask you this. Why is it that when we talk about the offensive line in particular, and we talk about Dak, and we would hear this a lot, oh man, the offensive line, Dak is always under pressure. The offensive line is not holding their weight, right? How is that argument relevant for Dak Prescott, but not relevant for one Ezekiel Elliott when people are talking about this? So give me your insight, man, on what is going on with your Dallas Cowboys. What are the adjustments that they should look to make? And they're very fortunate to be in the division that they're in.
So it was very depressing going back watching the All 22. When I have to turn in my reports for these games, the first thing that just stood out so much about that Dallas Cowboy defense, no effort. Like, it's unbelievable that I'm sitting here watching this film and I had to, like, am I watching a high school, middle school game? Like,
right.
We get better effort from kids at the park. We get better effort from kids at this is it was night and day. When you looked at Cleveland defense,
right?
Picture, you freeze frame 9-10 guys to the football.
Right.
You look at the Dallas Cowboy. Think about the reverse to Odell. These guys Odell, they talk about he's gonna run out of bounds. No, when a receiver trying to run out of bounds when he's rolling like that.
Right.
It was never enough effort with the Cowboy defense. Jalen Smith, either Jalen Smith hurt or his pockets are so heavy now. This guy he blocks himself. He takes himself out of place and he falls for the first fake every time. What do you read and do? You know they're gonna play action and bring somebody right behind you, man. What are you doing?
Right.
So the defense, no effort from the defense. When we talk offense, let's start with the Cowboy offensive line. It always pains me to hear this talking point. But they got the best offensive line in football. No, they don't. These guys hadn't been the best offensive line in like 3 years.
Right.
Let's look at Tyron Smith, who once upon a time was the baddest man in the NFL.
Yeah.
If you just go look at his play chart, this guy is out more than he plays.
Right.
You've had attrition in that offensive line. You have Zach Martin stay hurt.
Right.
These guys, you've had retirement.
Right.
So offensive line has been makeshift the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, we like to hear about talk about what they call Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Well, Dak is the only reason that these guys continually stay in games.
Right.
Is it Dak's fault that Jerry decided to give Amari Cooper $100 million and Amari Cooper doesn't give wide receiver one effort? Gallup is the best receiver on that team right now. Hate it or love it.
Mm-hmm.
CeeDee Lamb is coming to his own.
He is
over there dogging it, man. This dude is, man, cut the film on. This is why I always tell people, Tonio, cut the sound off on these games. Let your eyes see. Your eyes not gonna lie to you. See, when you got the people chirping in your ear, they're pointing out, oh my God, Ezekiel Elliott. Oh, Ezekiel. Man, look, Zeke can't run because offensive line can't block nobody. They terrible up front.
Right.
Terrible.
Right. So you just said something about one Amari Cooper. And forget being, let me ask you, it's one thing. What's amazing to me when I watch Amari Cooper, and I really want to get your assessment on this, is not only the inconsistency from game to game, there could be inconsistency from possession to possession. Because in last week's game against Cleveland, for a large portion of the game, he was putting on a master class on how to be a wide receiver in terms of route running and things of that nature when you look at those numbers. And then within that, there were critical plays from an effort standpoint. That one play, the one play where Dak threw the ball when he was being pressured and Dak threw the quick out, and Amari didn't even look at the ball, right? So how is it that not only has he been able to garner the payday that he got, not from my Raiders, but from the Cowboys, but if this is how what you just said about watching the tape, how was he able, was it just his ability, but how was he able to have these types of tendencies and play a prominent role for one Nick Saban, who we know that would drive him absolutely berserk? So give me your insight on Amari.
When I look at Amari, so I always say this, when number one receivers move on, the organization that decides to let these guys walk, they're with them every day. It's something about that guy, whether on the field, off the field, you let them go. Malcontent, effort, all these things. When Amari is on,
man,
he's a dog.
No question.
But he has these moments where it's almost like, dude, I'm nice, I'm paid, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Too many of those moments. And like I say, when you go watch tape on Amari, it's times where how he works at the line of scrimmage. If you press Amari Cooper, when he on, can't defend him.
Right.
Is like when he's on. The
no
problem
question.
He's not on all the time, and that's a problem.
Right.
That is a problem. And Jared, listen, if Jared watching film, you know, sometimes Jared just worried about it. The machine roll. You know, Jared's the first one to put a sellout crowd inside the dome. He gonna be the first one during this COVID era to put 80, 100,000 in there because he just like, dude, all we do is print money.
Right. What did Jared say? I'm a war daddy, right?
Yeah. Not me, Jared. You can't get my money. You ain't got my money in 4 years, Jared. No. But we know the Dallas Cowboys print money. They're a money-making machine. Amari, listen. I was on the fence about this sign. I'm just gonna be straight up with you. I was like, hey, that money should go Dak. Because again, right now, we 4 games in, Gallup is the best wide receiver in Dallas. Look at the numbers. Look at the effort. I bet when they grade film, I guarantee you Michael Gallup grades out higher than Amari every week. And has been probably doing that for the last 3 weeks. So
real talk only. Hashtag RTO.
That's all we do. So when it's a reason the Raiders were like, you know what? Wow, somebody gonna give me something for this dude. Let's take it. Because I think we saw in Oakland, they were like, man, we saw his ceiling. We saw it. So you know what, dude? They giving us 2 ones, a 1, a 2. Man, bye. And listen, people here in Atlanta, I've been getting flack for 2 years now when I said on our show, anywhere we would go, and Julio even look at me sideways now when we're in the locker room. 2 years ago, I said, man, trade Julio. Trade him. Mm-hmm. Because wide receivers, you don't win championships with Lamborghinis out there. They Lamborghinis, man. They so nice to look at, and you crank them up, all of that. But when it's time, Julian Edelman got what, 2 Super Bowls?
No question.
Amendola got Super Bowls.
No doubt.
These are Jordan Nelson got Super Bowl.
Right.
Jake Jennings. I mean, these guys aren't like they're not Lamborghinis.
Right.
They're not even Honda Accords, but they're nice running engines. They not that shiny. Like in Atlanta, I always say this all the time. Why would you buy a Lamborghini in Atlanta?
Right.
You can't
right.
Because the street is bad. So you got it. It's gonna sit in your driveway. It's gonna sit in your garage. You pull it out. You look at it. You get it detailed. Put it back in because when you pull it out and drive it, you're either gonna tear up your rim. You got to get some new tires at some point.
Right.
Potholes are crazy.
Right.
I mean, man, Amari Cooper, man, has been a disappointment. And again, this is why the Raiders moved on, man. If you're a true number one team, don't move away from true number ones unless it's something they've seen on a daily basis and say, you know what, and we good on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's no question. It's no question. And so when I watch them, they're so compelling again, because we said this before, in your city with Atlanta, and then here where I'm living in Dallas, these are 2 teams that can beat anybody and 2 teams that can lose anybody. So it's just so compelling on a weekly basis to watch them. And then it's funny when you reference Jerry, from a business standpoint, this is probably what Jerry wants, right?
Dude.
Because the Cowboys have not won a Super Bowl since 1990. What, brother?
95, baby.
95, right?
I was there in Arizona. I saw Michael Irvin in prime jump in the white limo with the trophy and ride out. I was there, man. I was there.
Right. The 9 nickel. This is the last time we seen it, right? And unfortunately, to your point, the offensive line, using a Michael Irvin term, is not playing with the same intensity, right? Same intensity. You remember that? So
the playmaker,
right? The playmaker, man. I love watching that cat play, man. But they're not playing with that same fervor, and that defensive line, to your point, DeMarcus Lawrence, Jalen Smith, and the other thing is, to your point about health, the Wolf Hunter, big. It's crazy how missing him and missing Sean Lee, when Sean Lee was in his prime, what that does to them from a defensive standpoint. No question. No doubt. So I'll ask you this. Sticking with our quarterback play, because a lot of this is predicated on quarterbacks. In the NFC East, there's been a lot of conversation about the Washington football team and what's going on with Dwayne Haskins and Ron Rivera not being married to Dwayne Haskins, benching Dwayne Haskins. And not only is he not the backup, he's 3rd string now. Right? For a guy who's the backup, we don't even know if he's really ready in Alex Smith, right? So I ask you this. There's been a lot being made of, and this is always, and it's part of the reason, brother, even for a time in my career playing a position, part of the reason why I still, to this day in 2020, find myself still rooting for virtually every team that has a black quarterback.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. A lot is being made about Dwayne Haskins. And if you look at the numbers that Dwayne Haskins has versus one Daniel Jones with the Giants, Dwayne Haskins' numbers are actually better.
In less games.
His numbers are actually better.
No.
What is your take on Dwayne Haskins? Are you a believer in Dwayne Haskins? What needs to happen to right the ship? Is he in the conversation for the future there?
So two things. I got a chance to chop it up and be around Dwayne Haskins. He works out in Atlanta in the off season. Shout out to Quincy Avery, who is the quarterback whisperer, one of the best quarterback trainers. Everybody go sees QA.
You hear it here, sports fan.
Guy
giving you that inside information, going behind the curtain.
Got to see his development from year 1 to year 2. Totally changed his body. Totally changed his mindset. Listen, we knew he had a live on. We knew his skill set was once he got this together, we knew he would make that transition. It's unfortunate that the guy who drafted him got fired.
Right.
You knew at some point when Ron Rivera signed Kyle Allen, you knew that at any given moment, Kyle Allen was going to quarterback this team.
Right. Back
to the money thing. See, now, again, thanks to Jamarcus Russell and Sam Bradford, you're not giving these guys $60 million as rookies. So you're not married to them.
Right.
You're giving these guys $17 million total contract.
Right.
With the 5th-year option.
Right.
Man, listen, look at Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen was a first-round draft pick. Coach gets fired. Hey, dude, I'm bringing in Kyler Murray, man.
Well, to your point, so to your point about Josh Rosen, and that's, leading to that larger question. To your point about Josh Rosen, all of the conversation has been about, man, he's had to play in different offenses and things of that nature. Hasn't been handed the reins, so he could build his confidence. So I guess, because we saw this again with going back a little bit here with Jason Campbell. People talk about his development and they don't talk about the different systems that he had to play in throughout his career, in the beginning of his career. So do you think there is some sort of double standard with black quarterbacks even now? So now the standard isn't, okay, we're going to give you the opportunity, but now we're going to continue to change philosophies under you when you're in your developmental stages. Do you see that happening, or is Dwayne Haskins just not good enough to be a top flight NFL quarterback, top flight security?
Yeah, worldwide, Craig, worldwide. So listen, we know this. We know this kid has all the ability in the world to play the quarterback position. Our guys don't get the same. Listen, it's a proven fact. Think about it. Guys went on epic rants, and they had to eat those words because they talked about how, Lamar Jackson should move to wide receiver. Think about the disrespect that Deshaun Watson and Pat Mahomes got in their draft with Chicago. Listen, and I'm gonna throw Pat Mahomes out of this. Deshaun Watson, Mitch Trubisky. No brainer. No brainer.
Absolutely.
But the Chicago brass say, Deshaun probably done hit his ceiling. All this guy has done is won his entire life. Probably done hit his ceiling. Mitchell Trubisky was a 1-year starter at North Carolina.
Right.
And he was okay, but here come that word. His upside. Oh my God. He's sitting behind Nick Foles today. And people in Chicago still are saying, we took him over that guy in Houston.
I was there for almost 10 years in Chicago. I was just talking to one of my friends in Chicago about this yesterday. He was posting about Nick Foles. So,
bro, our guys, it's without a doubt, our guys get the short end of the stick. We have to be 10, 15, 20 times better than these guys. I mean, man, they played in the same conference.
Right.
You mean to tell me you saw something on tape that made you say, hey, man, we're taking Mitchell Trubisky over Deshaun Watson. How do you still have a job? Like, dude, if I'm the owner of Chicago every day, I'm saying, who made the decision, man? Go clear out his office now.
So to your point about that, and I want to deep dive on what you just said. Mitchell Trubisky couldn't beat out A.Williams, who is not in the NFL, who in recent memory has been the best quarterback to play at UNC. Mitchell Trubisky couldn't beat him out. And this guy is not even in the NFL, right? And so he couldn't beat him out. And we're watching Deshaun Watson, and everybody is talking about Dabo as a coach right now, right? What Deshaun Watson, and yeah, Clemson was one of the programs that people looked at from a national standpoint, but it wasn't at the point that it's at now. You can make a case what Deshaun Watson did for Clemson football is very much comparable to, before we had the scandal, what RG3 did for Baylor football. Dude, RG3 built a stadium at Baylor.
Dude, I would challenge anybody to go to Clemson, South Carolina, and walk in any athletic building, and it's not something Deshaun Watson there. Listen, the guy owns Clemson, South Carolina. Now, Sunshine did a good job of you know what I'm saying, moving some furniture.
Right.
But the imprint that Deshaun Watson left on that school, dude, it's pictures of this guy every corner you turn in Death Valley. Any part of that $60 million expansion they did on the football facility. Deshaun Watson is a big reason that the donors kept writing those big old checks over there.
That's right.
So you need to tell me, with all that being said, you draft Mitchell Trubisky, and you move up the draft me.
Move up all the way to 2.
Y'all giving what? Hey, knock yourself out, man.
Yeah, and we weren't going to draft this guy anyway. Right. No question. So,
unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable, man. So Dwayne Haskins got the short end of the stick. You hate to see this, but listen, coaches have their guys. Or when you're not married to a guy, when you didn't draft a guy, that's your easy out. And at some point, like I said, when Ron Rivera signed Kyle Allen in the offseason, he could have signed Cam. Could have signed.
But he gets that.
Cam.
Right.
No, I'm signing my guy.
Right.
Kyle Allen.
Right.
And I'm signing him because I know what he's gonna do. He's gonna do everything I say do. I don't know Dwayne Haskins. He's not my guy.
Right.
At the end of the day, when we go into the draft, I'm gonna tell y'all, hey, see what you can get for him. Cause hey, I like this guy at Ohio State. Or I like this guy at North Dakota State. I like all of these guys. I don't like him. I don't know him.
Right.
I don't know him. We didn't do an evaluation on him.
Facts.
So, you hate it for Dwayne Haskins, but this is the business he decided to go into. Listen, I know Quincy Avery. Quincy tells all these guys, hey, man, you have to work. We worked out today. Guess what? We got to go do some more work because it's an unfair advantage that they have. I mean, it just is. And it's always been that way.
Right.
Hey, man.
Right.
What can we do? What can we do?
It's funny that you say that because one of the things that I see online, and it certainly resonates with me, man, is the power of us as a people. We certainly don't look like what we've been through, man, and what we continue to go through. So
we keep smiling.
Yes, no question. So, you know, one of the comments that we got from one of my brothers here, this is one of my good brothers, Cedric. He was saying that Chicago just will not draft a black quarterback. We haven't seen one since Vince Evans, right? We haven't seen one there. And we talked about that with USC football too. They just will not get a black quarterback. So it's just amazing to me in 2020, we're still having these types of discussions and still thinking about these things. So
fighting that same battle, dude.
No questions.
The struggle continues.
No doubt. Just like the marathon continues, right? So let me ask you this. Sticking with that quarterback position, and one of these teams is in my next question, but I want to get to this question. We got 4 0-4 teams. Houston is one with Deshaun. Atlanta, of course, the 2 New York teams. All 4 of these teams feel like they have a guy that is either established or a guy that we're trying to develop. And we already know, and you talked about this, right? You talked about Trevor Lawrence, and of course the Hurricanes are playing Trevor Lawrence, and they've been saying how much they want Clemson and all those things, right? So with those 4 teams, how do you see them? And because in basketball, we always are talking about draft the best player, regardless of what you have on your roster, right? If one of those 4 teams, again, they either have their guy or trying to find out if they have their guy, what do you think those 4 teams would do? Or what do you think their philosophy should be if they end up with the number 1 pick in the draft?
So let's start in Atlanta. The Matt Ryan, listen, they over Matt Ryan. The city is over Matt Ryan. They over Matty Ice. Even though he's done so much for he bridged the gap. He
did.
They never got over Mike Vick here. They never got over Mike Vick. And
right.
Paul 28-3. They're over Matt Ryan. So you're probably going at this rate. You're gonna have a new GM, new coach staff. So Matt Ryan is not gonna be that. He's not gonna be their cup of tea. He's not gonna be their guy. They're probably gonna draft a quarterback. Both of the New York teams. We'll start with the JETS mess. So they're probably Adam Gase he's still riding up. He was in the same room with Peyton Manning. He a head coach. This guy, again, when we talk about privilege, I mean, yeah, what is? This guy was so bad in Miami that when he got fired, the Jets said, you know what? We'll hire him. Yeah. Don't worry about what he did in Miami, man. He was in the same room with Peyton Manning. He's still getting jobs because he was. You want us to really believe you were Peyton Manning, the offensive coordinator? Peyton Manning ain't got no offense. Peyton Manning is the offensive coordinator. Get out of here.
Facts.
They have to decide, hey, is Sam Darnold our guy? Again, the money, we not really married to him money-wise. Trevor Lawrence might look good in this green. I don't know. Let's look at the other New York team. Well, Gettleman, I think his job is secure. They just hired a new coach, Joe Judge, whatever, you know.
Yeah, the special teams coach.
How he got a job before Eric Bieniemy and some other guys, I mean, you know, that's something we'll talk about at a later date. But again,
Andy Reid is calling the plays, Maceo.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
The struggle continues. This guy was a special team coach. He don't even be in the same room with Bill Belichick. But y'all gave him a job. Not to mention all them other pretty boys who got hired a year ago just because they had coffee with Sean McVay. They got jobs. But that's a whole other conversation. I think Gettleman and them kind of looking right now and say, you know what? Danny Dimes, not what we thought. They don't even call him Danny Dimes no more. I hadn't heard that. Now, they might really call him Danny Pickles sometimes. They like, he checking the ball down. He ain't
oh, man.
You know, so, I mean, it's just crazy. But like I said earlier, when you're not paying these guys the big money. Now, Matt Ryan, again, just circle back to Atlanta. The task for Atlanta would be to find a team that's who feel like they just a quarterback away.
Right.
And it may be one of those. It may be one of those other 3-0-14 who say, you know, let's bring Matt Ryan in. But again, you're gonna get a new regime in Atlanta. No, I'm almost certain of it. It's gonna happen. Think about what Matt Rule did when Matt Rule got to Carolina.
Right.
He told some Fields, oh Cam, I talked to Cam, we love Cam.
Right.
Bye Cam.
Right. And waited to do it at that. Didn't give him a chance to really have a market. Waited.
No market. Market. But that's all right, because you know, matter of fact, Cam Aiken should, after that performance in New England put on without Cam Aiken should already faxed over his offer. Like, I mean, you know, hey.
Is that what year was that, Mace? Is that 93 Emmitt Smith? 0-2? What year was that?
Yeah. It was the 93 season.
And said, you know what?
Emmitt said, you know what? I'm just hang out at the crib. Y'all got it. Y'all got it.
Right.
Troy goes and Jerry Robert, hey, man, hey. I need my security blanket, man.
Yeah, let's get this done.
Whatever money you got to pay him, pay him. And then Jerry was dead even when he did it. But Emmitt was like, bro, they cut the check, man. I'll be there tomorrow. And then Emmitt ran 160. Right. With a touchdown when he showed up. So, I mean.
Right.
You know. But
to your point, it's exactly how it is. I'll be there tomorrow. Like,
yeah. I'm in shape. I mean, but yeah. At that time, I'm running behind the best offense. That was the best offensive line. There you go. Big Nate Newton moving weight, you know.
Right. Literally and figuratively. Right.
Hey, you doing what, Nate? Right. Anyway, Big Nasty, Eric Williams, Flozell, man, Step Nasty, man. Gonna make me start crying.
To your point, talking about the baddest guy in the NFL, Larry Allen was the baddest man on the planet.
Out there bench pressing people. And if y'all don't believe he was, the late, great Reggie White has a quote that say, hey, and this is the great Reggie White, everybody. I don't want no problems with 73. I don't want no problems with that dude there. And not only was he massive, big dude could move. Big man, dude, he running downfield with Emmitt. You know, he man. Guys, come on.
Man.
Yeah.
Man. So to your point, I just, what do you think? So we have everything that's going on in Houston. And this is, we'll wrap it up talking about Houston. And they're one of the teams that's 0-4.
Yeah. 5.
Right.
But they paid the quarterback, so he gonna probably be there.
Right. So give me your assessment on, again, back to some of the things that we're talking about. One, Bill O'Brien. What happened in Houston from a team that's won 4 division titles? Deshaun has done the things that he's done. What happened? Do you think it's possible for somebody to be a coach and a GM in this era with the way that players are wired?
It's too much responsibility. One job is going to suffer. You talk about Bill O'Brien, not only he the head coach, he GM, he the play call also. Stretched himself real thin. You have a problem with arguably top 3 receiver in the NFL. It's debatable.
You're right. Some people say he's the best.
Right. You know. His name is always in the conversation.
No question.
You don't get rid of guys like that. You don't get rid of freaks. You don't get rid of freaks.
Right.
You
right. don't. And to your point, let me say something about one DeAndre Hopkins as well. And the other thing about him is, to your point where you were saying about receivers, this is a guy that when Will Fuller has a big game, when that ball gets spread around, this is a dude that I never hear about complaining about targets. Continue, brother.
And you don't complain about targets because the ball always going to find number 10. When he covered, he opened.
Right.
Dude,
Right.
I can't tell you the number of times Deshaun, and again, another guy who trained with Quincy, I can't tell you the number of times Deshaun will tell you, hey man, listen, I don't care if it's 3 people over there. If I can see that 3X glove, I'm throwing it. Because he's probably going to get the ball.
Right.
It's
right.
I don't care how many people over there. He coming down with the ball. Neither here nor there. You don't get rid of a guy like that. You don't have, listen, y'all can disagree all you want, but the GM and me say, you know what? And, you didn't get nothing for him.
Right.
You didn't get nothing for him. But you give Miami your first and second round pick to bring in Larry Tunsil. Tunsil, he all right. But Deshaun's still running for his life.
Hey, what do you say? He all right, but he's not real, right?
He's not that deal, as JC said.
Right. Right.
So, and then let's go to the final straw. But he's not your best player no more, JJ Watt. You beefing with JJ Watt, and JJ Watt is a pillar of the Houston community.
Right. Facts.
Dude,
Facts.
People are already still mad at you about giving, you gave Kansas City that game with some of them bonehead decisions you made.
Right. And
again, you got nothing back for D-Hop. Next year, we have no draft capital because you gave it all away. Dude, you fired, man. Clean out your Get out of here, Bill. But again, here we go. A guy who gets credit for coming off the Belichick tree. How is that tree working? Because I look over there in Detroit where, Jim Caldwell, I bet they miss Jim Caldwell today.
They fired him when he was, you know what that reminded me of, brother? It reminded me of when we fired, when my Raiders fired the great Art Shell, right? After they were 10-6.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So Jim Caldwell took the Lions to 9-7, and with that organization and that team, that's like going 11-5.
Dude, like 12-4.
Right. That's 12-4. That's 9-7 with that man Aaron Rodgers in the division, right? So, and they fired him. So continue, brother.
So again, and this was crazy. Somebody is gonna hire this dude as an offensive coordinator. They're gonna clean up his image, and he gonna get another head coaching job. That's the sad reality in this. That's the sad reality in this whole thing, man. But and that's the way the ball out. But my dude, Bieniemy, can't get no gig out here, man.
Man, and let me say this. I'm gonna go back too, man. Like when watching Eric Bieniemy, another guy that's from the soil in LA, one Darian Hagan, right? When I watched those guys in Colorado wear that black and come out with those black tights, I wanted black tights, and black wasn't even part of our uniform scheme. But man, I need those black tights. So watching that influence, man, and then watching those things carry over from a play calling standpoint, because what do we always say? We always see these ownership guys want these offensive minds, right? Look at Kansas City's offense and all that creativity. And now Patrick Mahomes is so good and their offense is so creative. People are like, oh man, Mahomes has this great receiving core. Really? Right? Really? They're scheming up, and then you got Mahomes, right? Are these guys that if you look at them individually, you're like, man, that's a top 5 receiver in the league. That's a top 5 receiver in the league. I don't think they really have that. And maybe, again, not a hot take, real talk only. So I ask you that because you look at Bill O'Brien. You see this to a certain extent with Cliff Kingsbury with Arizona. I'll say this for a reason. What from Bill O'Brien being part of that Belichick tree? Did he do something at Penn State that shows that not only do I deserve to be a head coach, but you all are going to acquiesce to the ways that I want to do things, and I'm going to get full control. Cliff Kingsbury was a 500 coach at Texas Tech, right? Below 500 for coach at Texas Tech, actually. And all that meant was him being able to not only get a head coaching job, but he was able to implement his system and get his guy of choice in Kyler Murray. What did those guys do? What does it say in their jacket that they deserve to not only get those jobs, but get that type of autonomy? Or do they deserve that type of autonomy?
No. Again, let's look at all the guys who kind of from that Bill Belichick tree. Let's start with, like I said, we see what's going on with Bill O'Brien. His first offensive coordinator name always slips my mind, but he went down there and he just tore up Notre Dame.
Charlie Weiss.
Charlie Weiss. Oh my God. Notre Dame still cutting this dude a check again.
Because he had a moral victory against my Trojans when Reggie Bush got pushed in the end zone. And the day after that game, they made Charlie Weiss the highest paid coach in college football. Continue, brother.
How did that work out for them?
Man, oh man, oh man.
It didn't work out good. And they still do.
Right.
These guys benefit from, on the tree. Okay. That's fine. Let's look at Matt Nagy off the Andy Reid tree. Okay, we'll see. But this guy got the opportunity that the play caller currently didn't get.
Right.
He passed over.
Right.
I mean, come on, man. These are undisputed, undeniable facts. Dan Quinn is off that Seattle tree.
Right, off the Pete Carroll tree. Yep.
It's starting to look like maybe that wasn't your defense. Well, it wasn't your defense, but you got credit. I mean, hey, these guys get opportunities, and they're gonna get more
question.
Which is, I mean, again, sad. What happened to earning and just the merit? Let's look at Tony Dungy tree. That tree seemed to be pretty successful.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Let's look over at Pittsburgh. What's going on over at Pittsburgh?
Right. And that guy does not get enough credit for being the coach that he is.
Oh man, listen, they
doesn't get enough credit for that.
Every 2 years they want to fire that guy.
Right.
But all that guy does is listen. He lose his injury-prone quarterback. They still compete.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? They never picked them to win division. This guy wins the division. This guy's a rock, and he unshakable.
That's right.
You said something about Cliff Kingsbury. Well, it seems like with all the promise everybody kind of talked about, year two, well, it seems like they done kind of caught up to Cliff Kingsbury because you can't run screen, you can't bubble screen NFL teams. The guy's just too fast. This is not right. Oh, and by the way, he did have Pat Mahomes and Baker Mayfield on campus.
He did. He absolutely did.
How did that work out for him?
We saw, to your point, we saw Patrick Mahomes throw for 700 yards in the game and lose.
And lost.
700 yards.
And lost. And real funny story real quick about Pat Mahomes. One of my dudes, we were talking about quarterback training. And the kid was like, I want to be like, man, I want to be the next Pat Mahomes. I was like, hey, slow down. Don't listen, Pat Mahomes kind of like Brett Favre. Don't watch what they do. Pat Mahomes probably, listen everybody, real talk.
Talk only.
Pat Mahomes probably has some of the worst, mechanics in the world. But you know the difference between you and Pat Mahomes? Everybody, Pat Mahomes can be backpedaling and throw the ball 60 yards an hour without setting his feet.
Because he got a tank attached to his arm, right?
He got a rocket
attached to his shoulder. He got a tank attached to his shoulder.
Like, hey, kids, you can't throw like that. That play he made the Super Bowl. Listen, that play was fundamentally flawed to Tyreek Hill. Like, man, nothing was right about that play.
Right.
Except the fact that he can throw the ball 65 yards in the air going backwards. So imagine what happened when he set his feet.
It, to your point, it's very interesting to use a boxing reference. So, sports fan, you all know I'm a combat sports guy as well. So I'll say that. But to your point, it's similar to when you watch Roy Jones in his prime. All of that stuff that he used to do, because his hands and his reflexes were so much quicker than everybody else's.
You better put your guard up. You better put your guard up. You can't walk around like no. You better put your guard.
You better be fundamental with this thing, no question. No question, man. Hey, this has been an unbelievable conversation, man. I'm glad that we were able to deep dive on this.
I love it.
We got to continue doing it, man. Continue talking about this stuff, and we got to get some college football talk in here as well, man. So, brother, I appreciate it. Sports fam, I appreciate you joining us. We're gonna do this again, and let's continue to build, family.
Hey man, look, we ought to have some interesting conversation on tomorrow.
Yes.
Some things could happen tonight.
Yes, some things could happen tonight.
Things could happen tonight.
One team from the soil could close this thing out in the NBA Finals.
Long time coming.
Right. It'll be interesting because when this series started, I thought it would go 6. So it will be interesting. And Miami, we'll talk about this tomorrow. Miami had an opportunity to win Game 4. I'm sorry, Game 4. They had a chance to win it. So that's a conversation for tomorrow.
Interesting. I'm trying to decide which Kobe's I'm going to wear tonight. Yes, sir. So, you know, one of the hardest things to find is one of those Black Mamba jerseys. I've been trying to find one. So you can't find it. You can't find it.
You can't find it. So I may have to try and call in a favor. So we gotta talk about this tomorrow. I can't wait for it, man.
Dude, I already got questions lined up. I'm just gonna throw away the ones that are very irrelevant because some people ask me stuff. But hey, brother, always good to build with you, my dude.
Likewise, family.
See you tomorrow, man. See you tomorrow, my brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.